All right, guys. Well, I don't know if you can hear me. I've never done a live stream before, but I thought, hey, if there ever was going to be a time for one, why not for this? So I'm really hoping you can hear me. Okay, you hear me fine. Nice. Thank you, Mike Tran. Appreciate that. Cool, cool. You guys are the best. Sweet dabs. Thank you, Marshmallow Stew. So, obviously, you guys know me. I love a lot of different types of watches, but there's something definitely special about Seiko watches. I think they offer a different type of value proposition than you will typically find out there. And there's been quite a bit of excitement around the release of this piece. And before that, there was a ton of excitement when it came to this Alpinist release. And I think that, there's some shared DNA there, which is great. Also, big shout out to Carrot and Co. They were able to help me source this piece as quickly as possible. So forever grateful for that from them. I will definitely leave some information, obviously in the full review, but this is kind of a sneak peek, guys, because like 10, 10 bang bang, very nice. So I did want to share that with you guys just because people haven't really got a good look at this, right? It's something that's new. It's pretty exciting, and I'm really happy to kind of share it with you guys. So, as you guys can see, this is a nice little 38 millimeter, um, and this thing is sweet. Let me actually little hint behind the scenes. This is what I use to get the dust off. So if you guys ever need to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you just take your Instagram game really seriously, that thing totally worth the money. But as you guys can see, I did want to give you guys an idea of the way that the colors rendered for the print on here, because it's not luminous. So it's not, patinaed lume or anything like that. It's actually was a choice essentially to not be just completely monochrome, right? So they do have, a bit of an ivory tone to it. And I think it works, especially with this gradient dial. Whether you call it kind of a fume or degrade or, whatever fancy accented version you want to say for the type of dial that it is. I think the nice thing is it really separates itself from this right here, which is, obviously a great kind of modern reimagining of the red Alpinist, right? And with some modern touches, and it looks great. But then you kind of get this really cool touch back to some of the original Alpinists, right? Which didn't have compasses, and of course that internal rotating bezel compass is something that made the Alpinist really blow up. But when you actually see something like this, these are actually available for sale now. You'll find a lot of areas and Japanese retailers are waiting, I believe, for another couple days or so before they start releasing. But I got this from actually a U.S. Authorized dealer, Carrot and Co. Check them out. They actually do have some in stock. So some of you who might wait for the full-on review, you might miss out. So definitely check out now. These things are very, very nice. Check this out. And if you guys are a Seiko fans, and you probably already know about the SARG line, SARG, right? Those are really cool. And, they were kind of the explorer for Seiko by many people's eyes. And I was always kicking myself in the butt because I never got a SARG 007 or a SARG 011. But now you get 200 meters of water resistance, and you get these cool cathedral hands. You're getting something that stands out as something quite separate, right? From your typical Seiko Alpinist, which, now that they're revived, they're out there, and they're easier to get. But I just wanted to show you guys the case profile. That nice sapphire with the anti-reflective coating is definitely working really well. Then you guys can see nice polishing there. I mean, nothing too complex from that standpoint, but the brushing on top of the lugs is really quite nice. So there's a lot of reflective surfaces here. I also do like, that it is available on the the bracelet as well as the strap. The green one does have the bracelet, looks really cool. We'll see what types of, other bracelets fit on this, or, if strap code comes out with something. But for me, honestly, I think this thing looks really cool on the strap. This is actually probably the nicest Seiko strap I've ever experienced. This thing is insanely good. It has the nice stitching. It's super soft. The This isn't the best deployant I've ever used. Honestly, it's probably one of my least favorite deployants, but it looks good. It's signed, right? But the strap itself is actually surprisingly good for Seiko. I mean, even nicer than the strap that came on the blue Alpinist, which was actually pretty nice and also had kind of that vintageized stitching, except it was, more of an ivory tone for some contrast. So, is this worth it? Yeah, honestly, I think it is. It's different, right? I think it's worth it to have both, but I'm sick and I have a problem and I keep buying watches. So maybe don't take my word for it, but yeah, I think $700 for in-house movement, 70-hour power reserve. You got the Sprawn hairspring in there, which is non-magnetic, which is great. A lot of the times, if you're going to get something like that from the Swiss, you're going to pay a little bit more. Sure, Swiss made brands, they put out enough into the gray market to where you can get really good deals, let's say from Joma Shop. For Seiko, generally, when you're going to get, you're going to pay close to retail these days, just because Seiko's done a lot to kind of clean up a lot of the overstock that they've had, that people have been getting really insane prices on. Like, let's say the JDM Alpinist, right? Like, they overproduced the heck out of that. People were taking advantage of the exchange rates. Dealers have been the only ones really fluctuating the price. It's not like Seiko changed the price, right? And that watch was out for what, like 17 years. So at some point, obviously, the prices got to go up, and you got to think globally, and you think about the rest of the line and where it fits, right? And hey, what does this spec equal in terms of price? So there's a lot to it. It's more complex than you might think. Nice shot of the case back there. And you guys, just to give you a comparison for the profile, it is actually thinner. Check that out. You do get a slight less case back and a little bit, I'd say even, you know what? I think this never been noticed before, but check that out because it's brand new. This crystal actually has a very slight dome to it. It's not flat, versus here you have the flat sapphire. So, of course you do have, some people kind of call it an eyesore, but for me, as long as it works and it magnifies, then a Cyclops is good to go in my book. But one thing, of course, with this, for those watch obsessives, is getting this aligned, right? It's just, you want to keep it aligned and it never stays aligned because it's meant to be used, right? So if you're using it, that's great. But when you're not and you'd love to lock it, there's no lock. The nice thing is they're kind of returning to their heritage by having a sports watch without the rotating bezel, but kind of infusing the old and the new. Also, I did get this guy here, so I figured I'd share that with you guys live. Let me know if you just don't even want to look inside this catalog. But for me, it's my first time seeing it, so I figured why not. Really nice, came along with it. So another big shout out to Carrot and Co. And yeah, there's definitely the great thing about Seiko is there's such a rich heritage there, right? I mean, sure, they've dabbled in borrowing design cues from here and there, but they've also invented a lot of design cues, right? They have so much DNA that's there. Yes, I will flip through this bad boy. Thank you. And this is the LX collection and Prospex line. This is where people get a little crazy. They get a little upset. They say, "Hey, I can just buy a Grand Seiko for that much." Well, you know what? This is a spring drive movement. They're not meant to be cheap. Spring drive movement, GMT. It has an independent hour hand versus the independent GMT hand. So this is the stuff people complain about in watches that cost more than $5,000, right? Why don't they have that? Like, you're gonna have to spend more to get an Omega that has that, right? Or a Rolex that has that type of feature. And there's plenty of watches that don't even use in-house movements that are going to be pretty pricey that are comparable, right? Maybe they're not the stuff in the market that we're interested in, but they exist, right? And for that purpose, guess what that means? That's you know, that's the market going rate, and you kind of have to compare to what's out there. I think these are all great. I dig the high beats. I appreciate that they made it, you know, obviously the blue dial looks cool. But the fact that they differentiated it from the gray dial model, I think is smart because, you know, with the high beat movement, I think it doesn't kind of screw over the previous buyers. Oh man, love this bad boy. You guys know this was like my probably fastest trending viral video. Actually, let me make sure this is in there for anybody that jumps on late. So if you want to see that, but you know, latest trending viral video. This, I mean, it's gonna probably be one of my most viewed videos in 3 or 4 months. So, love these. I think they fit perfectly. I love obviously the aesthetic and the proportions. They really just nailed it. Some key features on these that are really great is this bezel is just insane. The fit and finish really great. And definitely to a higher level, right? People complained about Seiko, and hey, they stepped their game up, but you know, they're not doing it for, you know, 2008 prices, right? Or 2003 prices for some people that are complaining. I've been actually looking forward to the re-release. There's going to be actually an even newer version of the Marine Master. It's been kind of shelved, I think, for a while now, but some pictures leaked a while back. I'm really excited to see that. It kind of follows the same formula as these bad boys right here, where they're getting a little bit more back to kind of the original and just doing some slight tweaks, versus here, which, you know, they took it in a direction where it just feels ultimately more different and larger, and more modern. They're going to take a step back and release something that's a little bit more classic, and from what I can tell in the leaked pictures, actually a little bit smaller. So that's good news as well. But I mean, these things look amazing. Obviously, they wear smaller just because that's kind of the general rule of thumb with Seiko. Um, Nice little artwork there. Again, guys, if you're just tuning in now, this is my first time looking through here, so figured I'd share it. What do I think about the Marine Masters? Yeah, they're sweet. I'm digging them. The lug to lug on this one, I honestly haven't measured it, and I don't have a caliper near me, but I guess we could see how comparable it is, and you know, definitely stay tuned for the full review. But you can see there the lugs are definitely quite similar. It looks like shorter lug to lug than the traditional Alpinist there, if I make sure I have it lined up correctly. So pretty close. They definitely have more DNA than just the dial. So I'll say that. Even the crowns, if you guys notice here, we got the screw down crowns, which is outstanding. And they're actually the same type of kind of gear tooth pattern, which is nice. So there is going to be some family resemblance there, and it's not just the cathedral hands. All right. Ooh, man. You gotta love the Tuna, man. The Tuna, I mean, this is just an icon of functionality from diving, like every perspective. This is like the supercar of you know, Seiko. This is their GTR, right? The things that they've been able to do with this thing is just insane. They took them like 600 meters and below. God, probably way beyond that. They had to like take it out down on a little submersible, right? And they just it's insane how crazy these things are, and then they just rate them at you know, a way that you enjoy. Okay, not sure you like the Arabic numerals. Yeah, you're right. Orientation, because those numerals aren't loomed. You know, it's probably not going to be in the dark anyway. It's not going to be as, I'd say, as easy to track. But you know, that's never really been the Alpinist's strong suit is is its loom. It's really meant to be kind of that field adventurers watch, go anywhere, do anything. You could take it surfing, but you know, although it could do well in the water and do some snorkeling, you know, you probably wouldn't want to have something like this in the depth. You're probably going to want something slightly more legible, and you know, with more potent loom. Digging the Willards. Honestly, for me, the reason why I haven't got one is just probably because they're just too good. I like them that much, but I just know that it would just end up competing with my SBDC 101. So it's probably why I haven't. It's just that space is already filled for me. These are really cool. These kind of came out of the blue, guys. These ice divers, the Sumos, basically with these really cool waffle pattern dials. Definitely very cool. You know what? I don't want to skip through that. This is cool. Take a look. These things are nice. I've seen them popping up here and there. They're actually like seem to be being stocked in other places. So if you guys are big Sumo fans and you're just, waiting to get something that's a little bit more special from a dial perspective, just because Seiko's been going nuts with the dials in 2020. And then, of course, I think this was actually the first model to be rocking the newer movement, the 6R35. So, it's nice to see that. And they actually updated the bracelet as well. So it has a little bit of a different taper to it. I've been a fan of the Sumo as well. So, I think I reviewed one just basically for the Crafter Blue fitted end rubber strap. Of course, you got that Prospex Alpinist inspired, as they call it, which is great. The black dial, super versatile. Then here we go, guys. Some of you are probably thinking I was going to get that blue. Look at that blue. But if you guys are fans of the channel, I just recently got an outstanding blue dial, a sharp edge Presage model. And what's so special about it? Well, for me, I think the thing is that it's a return to form, right? It's kind of what people have been asking for. People have been asking. People were upset when the Alpinist got discontinued. People were upset when the SARG, the SARG, got discontinued, and this is kind of marrying both of those ideas together, right? And ultimately being more capable, more refined, better finish, nicer strap and all that, better movement. It's competitive to what the Swiss are putting out there with the Powermatic movements, except these are going to be a little bit more straightforward when it comes to regulating, which is great. So, I think there's a lot of value add there. And then also it's Seiko, right? It's in-house everything. They do it all, they grow it all, and it's pretty crazy. I do love the look of this on steel. There was a part of me that was fighting with myself. Do I get the green so I can compare it to the original on bracelet and it be a really, uh-oh, it sounds like my daughter's crying outside. If she comes in, I apologize. But I'm recording, honey. I'm doing a live stream. I can't cut this. Oh no, somebody's food's bad. I hope you can't hear it because it's cute. And you guys, some other parents out there might be shaming me for ignoring her, but my wife is here, so she can totally deal with that. But yeah, I dig the gradation there on all these. I think the way it renders in the picture is actually pretty close. I'd say it's not quite as I think there's a real rendering of patina here and yellowing, but I think in actuality it feels, I'd say, probably more ivory. I don't know if the camera is picking that up. It might be adding a little bit more warmth to it just because this is a Samsung phone, so it's trying to be very dynamic in the way that it's rendering. How the heck can you buy them? Well, you can. I mean, Google is your friend, but I ordered mine from Carrot and Co. Watches, and they're out in LA. They have them in stock. I asked personally, do you guys have more? And they said yes, they've been shipping them. So get on there. I mean, I'm live streaming, so I can't necessarily give you a link to it right now. But yeah, no, you're right. I do like that with the green dial. I think that's sick. It's very classic. These are 700 right here, as you can see, is the retail. 700 on strap, 725 on bracelet. Great deal. Maybe we'll find out that the bracelets are interchangeable. I don't know. I literally just came home from work, and the Lume again. Literally came home to live stream this and show you guys. I assume the Lume is, as you guys can see though, it's the numerals and stuff aren't Lume. There's actually Lume plops there, very similar to what you'd find on the Alpinist. There's just an outer ring of Lume plots. So if you guys have seen that, it's going to be the same, right? It's not meant to be a big Lume beast. It's something that could be worn in the field, at the top of a mountain, whatever. But yeah, these are cool. I dig the blue dial. I bet that blue dial on bracelet would look insane. Maybe we'll find out that the bracelets are interchangeable. They do have very similar case profiles. Obviously, also having a 20 millimeter lug width helps as well. Yeah, and you're right. I do think it does have kind of a dressy aesthetic to it because of the gradation in the dial. No, the numbers are not loomed. There's actually a track that goes around the outer side there. You can see the little Lume plops that match the Lume on the hands, right, where they're a little bit more white. And then you can see there is a nice little touch of color on that seconds hand, which is great. So yeah, that's these bad boys. They're great. 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal, stainless steel case. It does have a very slight dome to the crystal, which I think is a really nice touch. It's not overly proud of the case or the bezel, so you don't have to worry about it, being kind of chip happy or anything like that. I think it flows really, really nicely from that perspective. And yeah, over the Explorer, I don't own an Explorer and I own this, so I guess I kind of have chosen this over the Explorer. But I have a lot of kids. I live in Southern California. Everything is expensive, so it doesn't matter how much money I make or my wife makes. I still have to be selective about what I spend money on. So, yeah, digging that. To continue on here. All right, you guys haven't seen the king turtles on the channel. I think they're sweet. I love my turtle reissue. I still wear it. Um, I think they're really cool, but for me, I don't know. I think it's just not enough of a difference for me to buy another turtle, especially when I love the mini turtle. But I gotta say, this dial is something special. These are really cool, where you got like kind of the underwater looking up kind of manta ray look. Very, very cool. And then obviously you're getting the advantages of ceramic and sapphire. So the stuff that everybody's been asking for. So fans should be buying these because this is what they questioned before. And Seiko never, it was never really a question of can they get the sapphires. It's, hey, well, these are meant to be sports watches, and our Hardlex is more impact resistant. So that was kind of their stance, and they've listened to the market and they said, hey, we'll go ahead and throw out some. We'll start adding some sapphires in there. Obviously, make sure that it's a little bit more upstream so that people are getting their bang per buck. But always been a big fan of the samurais. These are very cool. Again, these are also kind of king samurais, right? So you do get the ceramic as well, sapphire. Very, very cool. Kind of I think these use the 4R movements. Yeah, 4R35 equipped. Not too shabby. I just think that, for my wrist, I think really the language of Seiko is more rounded versus more squared. That's not really what I know them and love them for, but if I was gonna go for it, these are awesome. My brother loves these. He ends up finding them to be wearing a little bit large, but definitely cool to look at. We got more traditional stuff. This is a little bit more downstream. Again, these are list prices, guys. Dealers are going to sell them for less, right? So, people get sticker shock. Go look at the actual price of a Swatch watch, or a Tissot, not just the gray market prices. So, before you jump down my throat about how expensive or not expensive things are, I really do like these new monsters. I think they're quite iconic. But when I think about iconic Seikos, I kind of think tuna, turtle, in that range. So the monster for me hasn't always been a favorite, but I can appreciate what it does and that it has a very signature Seiko aesthetic. These are basically kind of the new Arnies, which are really cool. Digging those. And then, of course, a little bit more street, or I shouldn't say street, but just a little bit more classic. These are probably a little bit more, kind of oriented towards being semi-fashionable and tactical. This is more street, yeah, straight up fashion-ish. And then bam, a bunch of other facts in there, so not too worried about that. But yeah, just while you guys are on here, there's a couple of you. This thing's been streaming for a little bit. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll probably cut this thing off pretty soon. Yes, Carrot and Co. It worked out well. Nice. Very cool. So yeah, hopefully if you get a chance to email them or whatever, let them know that their sale to me paid off. And that's awesome. So yeah, this thing's sweet. I really some of the details that I don't think really have been picked up so far. Is that crown is really great, and it ties in to the crown here on the classic. Although it's a reimagining, it's still classic. Let me get these out of the way so you're not seeing it trying to focus on them in the background. Yes, Prospex logo on the dial. It's being covered by the hand, but yeah, there is a Prospex logo. Some people don't like it. I do. I think it is what it is. It's not like some weird, crazy shape. It's an X. Typically, people dig that. Yes. On the review, we'll definitely get into it and get into some details. but I'll try to. This one's been streaming for a little bit. Hopefully, this will kind of purge some of my initial thoughts so that I can get something to you guys that's going to be a little bit more concise. But then again, some people enjoy the ramble, so that's just the channel so far. And with the title being on the wrist from off the cuff, you can kind of expect off the cuff antics from me and it being a bit of a rambler. So yeah, guys, if you don't have any more questions, I guess I'll just do a couple, some glamour strap quality. Yeah, I talked about it earlier. This thing is probably the nicest Seiko strap that I've experienced. The deployant clasp isn't great, but it's milled. I'll give them that. It doesn't have any special finishing. It's pretty much the majority of it is polished and it's quite thin. But you do get a nice little top brush there, which is nice. And but the strap itself is like super supple. The edges are really well done. Look at the finishing on the edges there. Not rough at all. It actually has like it's not padded, but it's a nice piece of leather that actually gives you a nice just a tactile feel. Like you could squeeze this and it's soft. Like it doesn't feel like something that needs to be broken and twisted up or anything like that. Like it goes on the wrist. Wow, I haven't even put it on the wrist yet, guys. So it goes on the wrist really well. So of course I'm a lefty. You can see I'm kind of sweating here because I got the fan on low. It's hot today. But check that out. Look at there, look at there. Crown size, the machining, the feel. Yeah, I think it's a great size. It doesn't stick out too much. It's not hard to manipulate. And then it doesn't have crown guards like you have on the traditional Alpinist. It looks like it might even be the exact same crown. So it's one of those things that's really easy to actuate and articulate. And again, look at that. You get some nice anti-reflective coating there. Look at it. You can see it play a little bit. And of course, in real life, you're not going to be out in the studio light doing that, right? But you can kind of play with that and I can move it in a way where you guys can get an idea of how it's going to negotiate those reflections. So look at that dial. I love the granularity in the dial. It just has a really cool texture to it. Again, I like that although you can feel the Alpinist aesthetic, it's not just a bezel-less Alpinist, right? Like they did something different with it. They took it in a certain direction and they went with it. It's like it's an inspired look. It's not safe by any means. Maybe this was a little bit safe, honestly, but hey, I'm digging it. And yeah, I wonder if it fits too. They have a very similar case. And you guys know me. I've fit a bunch of different bracelets onto the kind of standard Alpinist. So I wouldn't be surprised if this fits. Again, this thing is fresh out the box. Another shout out to Carrot and Co. The TikTok collab, that's actually a great looking watch. It's a little bit bigger at 40 millimeters, and it only has the 10 bar of water resistance. So that's kind of why I've held off, because I've seen a couple vendors actually still have the TikTok collab in stock and actually not be scalping. Some places they're like $1,200, and some places still have them for like 600. And I've been very tempted, but knowing that this is just over the horizon, and I'm glad that I did wait. It's just great to have that. It doesn't honestly, it doesn't feel too thick. It's thinner, and it has obviously the crystal adds a little bit. I mean, just like a hair's, not probably not even a full millimeter over the flat crystal, but it does feel thinner. And honestly, it's typical Seiko, right? Like they massage these cases and they do things to them to where they visually appear smaller, and also that they wear smaller. Like if you look at that, like to me that doesn't look too bubblicious there. That doesn't look too thick, doesn't really feel thick. Nice range of motion there. And I think it flows really well. I think they made the right choices on this case shape. I'm not going to nitpick and say, oh, well, this could have been different. That could have. I think it actually works pretty well. Yeah, you're right. And I think it can be dressy, but at the same time, it's a watch you can consider dressy. That's 200 meters of water resistance, right? So if you're at a raging party and you're in a tuxedo, right? You're getting married or you're at the Marine Corps ball. This is something you can get jump into the pool with, jump into the ocean with, and it's totally going to be able to go with you and give you the time reliably. Also have a nice smooth sweep of a mechanical, and so you're kind of Yeah, for sure. A great daily driver, kind of that go anywhere, do anything theme that is so huge right now. Like everybody's really on board with that kind of everyday watch, right? And that versatility level and the capability. So you want something that's versatile enough in terms of looks, but also capable enough in terms of, hey, well, I it's nice that it can look like it belongs anywhere, but can it actually go anywhere, right? And in this case, you're getting a movement with a Sprawn hairspring, which is great. And then, so it's anti-magnetic. You're getting 70 hours of power reserve, mechanical movement, very reliable. 200 meters of water resistance, screw down crown, anti-reflective sapphire crystal, right? So you're just there's so much there. It's a 20 millimeter lug width, so this is gonna look killer on NATOs. You guys know how many straps that I review on this channel. So I personally think I'm going to throw this on a Tropic strap. What do you guys think? Let me know, whether you're watching this live or you throw some comments down later, however this works. This is my first live stream, but I actually saw a couple pictures on Instagram of this bad boy on a Tropic strap, and it just has been haunting me. I'm like, oh, that's so cool, but I love it on bracelet. So the nice thing is now this can kind of fill a different space, right? That's why I ended up ultimately not getting it on bracelet with the green dial model, is because this fits a space where, man, this thing will look killer on a Tropic strap. It'll tie in. Or yeah, Haviston, dude, there's so many good Haviston straps. The Parade line, the Service line, especially with the color play that they have, these could look really great. And yeah, and also yeah, the Chevron straps are really nice too. I do enjoy those, and those are nice, kind of thin single pass with really high quality buckle and hardware. So yeah, those will look really great. And then just the general color play again, I think it works really well. Yeah, it doesn't, not that I see them really as an eyesore on the other model, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't have a Cyclops, which I think is obviously going to be a nice point for a lot of people. I'm not that I need the Cyclops, but I kind of enjoy it. I think it adds a new dimension, and also it separates it more from the Red Alpinist, which it's pretty much derived from, and how iconic that watch is. It's nice that they kind of updated it, add a little flavor. This one feels a little bit more mature now with that Cyclops, and this one feels a lot younger, right? So you almost kind of get two different options, and more, just more to love. Yeah, they're comfort zones. It's one of those things. Um, Time only is great, but if you look at the numbers at the end of the day, dates are what sell watches. There's more people that will not buy a watch if it's time only than there are that aren't. So that's why they end up having dates. Plus, it's essentially you're taking away a feature set. Um, in the date to create something, on the other side of the house. So, I can't get too mad at them for throwing a date in there. It is nice when it is, nicely framed, which the way that it's framed actually does tie back to the older Alpinist, which here with the Cyclops, they didn't frame the dates because the Cyclops would have just blocked it out anyway. So I think that's nice, and again ties into what a lot of people love about these. So, okay, guys, if there's any last parting shots, any questions, definitely let me know. If not, I think I'm going to shut this thing down. Thanks for everybody who just randomly saw this come across their feed and decided to watch. I do appreciate that. I really appreciate your guys' support with it. I'm hoping that we'll hit that 20,000 subscriber mark in 2020. So, yeah, and I just wanted to share this with you guys because I know how it is for me and how excited I get. And I like sharing that excitement with you guys. You guys are awesome. You're the best. Every time I sneeze, I know you guys are blessing me all day long, or good tiding or whatever it is. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If I can figure out how to end this thing. All right. Thanks, guys. What button ends this? Maybe this one.